The 2026 World Cup has just ended. Spain are your world champions. Lamine adds a player of the tournament to his already impressive resume. Lamine Yamal is a world champion at 19 years old. Ferran Torres is a national hero. This has been an amazing performance for the Spanish national team and an amazing tournament altogether. However, in 15 years, when we look back at this tournament, we won't remember Spain winning. We're going to remember one thing: Argentina losing. Now, the discourse after the match was all about Argentina. It was less about Spain winning and more about Argentina losing. Now we have to take a deep dive into why that is. Because there's one thing I learned through all my years of watching sport and football, is that football is not only decided on the pitch, it's also decided through narrative. A player's legacy, a team's reputation, and even an entire tournament/competition can be viewed completely differently depending on one moment or one match or one player. 2026 World Cup is nothing short of one of the best tournaments I've seen in a long time, but it has become the biggest example of how quickly public perception can be shifted. Our case study here is Lionel Messi and Argentina. Before this tournament, we have to add context. Before this tournament, Messi's career was already legendary. He is an 8-time Ballon d'Or winner. He is a World Cup champion already in 2022. He is a 6-time Golden Boot winner, and so on and so forth. At worst, one of the greatest players of all time. Consistently, the greatest player of all time. However, the Argentine national team had gone through a complicated journey. For years, they went from being one of the most loved football nations in the world, with days of Maradona and Riquelme and Veron and so on and so forth, to now being one of the most criticized countries and teams in the world, right? They were viewed as emotional, arrogant, and unable to win when it mattered for the past couple of years. Messi himself went from being criticized as someone who couldn't perform for his country, leading to his eventual retirement from the national team, to eventually becoming the symbol of Argentina's redemption all those years later. His fans built a legacy around mentality, winning, and individual greatness, and team play. Messi's fans know how good he is. Everybody knows how good he is. But by 2026, the debate between Messi and any other player had changed dramatically because he was so far ahead of everybody that there was no debate. Going into the tournament, many people believed that Messi was reaching the end of his career and that he wouldn't be the same player that he was. Many believed that younger players such as Mbappe, Erling Haaland, Olise, so on and so forth, would finally take over and assert themselves as the best players in the world, or the best player in the world. However, Lionel Messi had other plans. Argentina entered the tournament with huge pressure, being the defending champions, and every match carried the weight of this being Messi's final chance to add another historic chapter to his career and silence the critics once and for all. We all knew this was going to be his last tournament. At least we thought so. Early performances showed a team that was organized, experienced, and emotionally connected. We knew that they would die for Messi. We knew that they would die for that badge. But at this point, nobody really cared about any of that. It was all about Messi's legacy and Argentina's chances of winning the World Cup. It was about the final chapter of one of the greatest players of all time. However, as soon as the football was kicked and people realized that Lionel Messi was still Lionel Messi, and as a hat-trick against Algeria in his first game in the World Cup, this became when the discussion started moving away from his performance and away from football, and instead focusing on refereeing. You see, Messi had scored his first goal against Algeria and then shortly after fouled an Algerian player by stepping on his calf. It is a foul. In my opinion, it is a yellow card. It is nothing malicious, and I don't believe that it should have been a red card. However, many fans online, those who don't like Messi per se, were asking for a red card, and they were asking for suspension, and they were being loud about it. There was public outrage, but not quite public, from a certain fan base. The controversy became bigger than him actually scoring a hat-trick. That's all people could talk about. This was the first sign that the tournament's narrative was about to change, and just how much of a magnifying glass was on Argentina and Messi. Now, the next game against Austria, he scored 2 goals, no major controversy. Nobody really cared, but people were still calling that he should have gotten sent off against Algeria, so he should have not played this game. Again, no, that's fine. Again, against Jordan, he doesn't start, he comes on, he scores a free kick. Nobody has anything to say. Argentina go 3 for 3 in their group, and they get a favorable draw because they top their group. They play against Cabo Verde in the first round. But now, the narrative's already changed, because instead of declining and being what we thought he was going to be at 39 years of age, the conversation quickly changed from, can Messi still perform, to how far can Argentina go? Now, as Messi continued performing, some haters struggled with that. Instead of accepting that he was having another historic tournament, another great legacy, another great addition to his legacy, online discussions became increasingly focused on finding reasons to discredit Argentina. Small incidents began receiving disproportionate attention, and the pattern became ignore performance, focus on controversy, and use moments to challenge the story. Keep in mind, remember that. Now, Argentina versus Cabo Verde in the round of 32. This was a major moment because Cabo Verde entered the match as the underdog but delivered an incredible performance. One of the best performances I've seen from a small nation in all my years watching football. They showed courage, intensity, and made Argentina work for the result, taking them to extra time and hanging on until the final whistle. But instead of being remembered for being the small team that stood up to the world champions, the conversation became scrutiny over Argentina needing extra time to beat Cabo Verde. The game was amazing, with no real refereeing or other inconsistencies, but many critics found a way to use that game to attack Argentina's legitimacy instead of congratulating Cabo Verde. The criticism became bigger than the actual match. Now, that match, we're gonna go through match by match. That match and the ones before it, nobody really had done anything crazy when it comes to pushing the narrative or shifting people's view about Argentina and Messi. But the next match did. And I feared that this next match has done irreparable damage to Argentina and Messi's legacy. Egypt versus Argentina. The round of 16, the stage is set. Before this, all people cared about was the football. Tactics, performances, players, right? Going into the match, many had expected Argentina to wipe the floor with Egypt, right? Even Egyptians themselves included, to an extent. But going into the match, Egypt shocked the world champions, scoring a goal in the 15th minute to open the scoring, and then Mustafa Shubir saved a penalty by Messi in the 21st minute, and now all of a sudden, going into the second half, we have Egypt 1-0 up on the world champions. In the 59th minute, Egypt score again, a second goal. However, after VAR review, there is a foul on Lisandro Martinez in the build-up, and the goal is disallowed. Now we'll get back to this. Again, 8 minutes later, Egypt do score. Mustafa Zico put them 2-0 up, and now Egypt are 2-0 up on the world champions with roughly 20 minutes to play. And now we get to the 79th or 78th minute. There's only 10 more minutes left without extra time, and Egypt are 2-0 up. Until Lionel Messi crosses the ball, Cristiano Romero finds it, he heads in a goal, and it's 2-1. Now it's 2-1, and there's only about 10 minutes to play. Again, 2 minutes later, Lionel Messi equalized the game with a lashing volley, a goal of pure beauty and a pure collapse by Egypt. And then again, in the 92nd minute, Enzo Fernandez heads in a cross to complete one of the most stunning comebacks in football history. From 2-0 down in the 80th minute to 3-2 in the 92nd. Egypt had a disappointing result, and we had all wished that they would have done better. Me, personally, I had wished that they had done better. I love Egypt. I love their people. I love their football, and I love Mohamed Salah, right? But instead of accepting the fact that they had conceded 3 goals in the span of 10 minutes, which led to them getting knocked out, the players, the fans, and everybody around the world began talking about the refereeing. Because in the 92nd minute, seconds before Argentina's winning goal, Mohamed Salah carries the ball into the penalty box, and he gets challenged by Julian Alvarez, who takes the ball from him, and then during that, there is a contact with their feet. Mohamed Salah trips in the penalty area. Now, people were asking for a penalty. Penalty did not come. They go down the other end, Argentina score. And also before that, Alexis McAllister grabbed and pulled the jersey of Hamdi Fethi, right? McAllister, who also had his shirt pulled and tripped in the box, did not get called for a foul, and neither did him getting pulled and tripped called for a foul. Both those did not get called for a foul, right? But people want to focus on the fact that Egypt did not get 2 penalties and that they got a goal disallowed. But nobody talks about the fact that Argentina probably should have also had a penalty. Nobody talks about the fact that Egypt got a lot of 50-50 calls and Argentina got a lot of 50-50 calls. Calls were missed for both teams. And I'll put them up all on the screen, and I'll put them up so you can see for yourself, right? These are footballing decisions. These are refereeing decisions. We have no control over them. Argentina should have got a penalty. Egypt should have got a penalty. Egypt's goal should have been allowed. Argentina should not have gotten a penalty for the second one. Fine, right? But when we stop talking about the actual football being played and boil it down to 1 or 2 moments, this is when the refereeing becomes the main target. And here's where it starts expanding outside of football. Now, so far, so good. We're having discussions about football, we're having discussions about the refereeing in the game and this and that, and there's nothing wrong with that. In every game where a team gets unfairly treated by the referee, we talk about the referee for a while, we talk about the fact that it was a robbery of sorts, and we forget about it. However, this time, that's not what happened, because all of a sudden, the debate moved from Was the referee correct? So is this entire tournament against a certain group of people or a certain group of religion, or is this entire tournament for somebody? Now, as an Arab Muslim, as a Muslim man, as somebody who loves Egypt and somebody who strongly supports the Palestinian cause, this is where the conversation starts to become uncomfortable for me. Because suddenly, football has now become connected with political and religious arguments. I am a person who truly, deeply believes in the Palestinian cause. I am a person who loves Egypt, right? But now, all of a sudden, after the Egypt match, some critics began connecting Argentina's success and Lionel Messi's success with accusations of political symbolism and stating that Lionel Messi is a Zionist, posting pictures of the peace tour in 2013 with Barcelona, which we will get into, and saying that this Argentina team is a proxy of Israel and they are a Zionistic country and these are Zionistic players, and that's why that Egypt weren't allowed to win, because they are a Palestinian supporting country. But here's what I say. Supporting Palestine and caring about Palestinian suffering is not something that should be used as a weapon in football debate. The Palestinian cause represents real people, real suffering, and real life. These are real people dying. These are real people being hurt. And you are turning their suffering and their condition into a point-scoring argument for a football debate. That is inhumane. You are downplaying the atrocities committed to the Palestinian people. Turning every football disagreement into a political accusations risks reducing this humanitarian issue into internet rivalry. Take it seriously. Take it seriously. After the Egypt match, all of a sudden now, people started talking about Lionel Messi and Israel, and him being a Zionist and him having this whole World Cup rigged for him because he's FIFA's princess and a Zionist. And what pictures or what claims did they have of that? Well, in 2013, FC Barcelona took part of a historic 2-day diplomacy initiative. The Spanish club traveled to Palestine and the West Bank and Israel to strengthen ties, promote dialogue, and host football clinics for local children. On day one, the team visited the Basilica of the Nativity in Bethlehem and met with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. They then hosted a youth football clinic for around 40 Palestinian children at Durra Stadium near Hebron in a crowd of roughly 24,000 Palestinian fans, taking pictures, playing with the kids, and being overall good to the community. In day two, they visited the Western Wall in Jerusalem for attending an official reception with the Israeli President Shimon Peres and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The tour concluded at Bloomfield Stadium in Tel Aviv, where the squad held an exhibition and training session for 12 to 15,000 Israeli and Palestinian children, right? The initiative was designed to use the club's universal appeal as a bridge between the two communities, aka they were not there for one or the other, they were there for both, right? The irony here was that many Palestinians themselves have started supporting Argentina and Messi because of football, his identity, and their admiration for the sport. Reducing their support to a political argument ignores the complexity of just how much football connects with people. And reducing the Barcelona peace tour and taking pictures out of context and refusing to show the other side is plain propaganda. But I will not stand for that, because the pictures are there for you to see and they'll be up on your screen. For the rest of the tournament, the narrative is already decided. After the Egypt match, discourse had changed permanently. Even without major controversial moments in the rest of the matches, the story had already been created, the stage already set. The tournament became less about Messi's performances or Argentina's tactics or the quality of football, and more about refereeing decisions, political analysis, online fan wars, and even political figures and commentators came into the conversation, framing the final of the World Cup through political comparisons rather than football. And I'm talking about one specific person, Mehdi Hassan. You see, Mehdi Hassan in 2022 tweeted and went to Argentina football games. He was a supporter of Argentina, right? But now all of a sudden in 2026, he wants to get on an interview with Javier Bardem after the final and talk about how Israel and Palestine, or Spain versus Argentina, is a proxy for Israel versus Palestine. That is terrible journalism. That is disingenuous and reducing a football match between two nations to Zionism and a genocide being committed doesn't sit right with me. This just showed how powerful narratives can become once they leave the boundaries of sport, that we have political commentators trying to tell you that Argentina are Israel and Spain or Palestine for a World Cup match. That is insane to me. Another major discussion point was Messi's favoritism, of how he got individual awards, of how he was treated other than other players, and this and that. However, that argument came crumbling down when Messi failed to win player of the tournament despite leading his side to the final, scoring 8 goals along the way, 4 assists, winning 6 man of the matches, and having a historic performance at 39. The player of the tournament was given to Rodri. Deservedly so. I still think it should have gone to Messi. But nobody cared that it didn't go to Messi. Nobody cared that it went to Rodri, right? Because when things don't go Messi's way, people don't care. People love that. But when they do, you will hear about it. This has become another example of how every achievement involving Messi is immediately filtered through this moral compass, through this, is it deserved? He is the only player that is done for. Instead of appreciating greatness, football discussions have often become about proving who deserves what and who deserves this. Now, football has always been about emotion. It's always been about the fans. It's always been about your feeling, how you feel when a team plays, how you feel when a player plays, the happiness it gives you, the outrage it gives you sometimes. But when football fails to stay in football, and we are now labeling players who are ambassadors of the UNICEF, who have spoken about human rights and spoken out about injustices, now we are taking a personal attack on them, calling them Zionists, and so on and so forth, without real proof of that. This is where football stops becoming fun for me. One tournament, one match, or one controversial moment can completely change how millions of people view a player, a team, and even an entire generation of football history. I leave you with football and politics don't mix well. Sometimes they have to, though, but not baselessly. If you are using Palestinian cause to score points about Messi being a bad player or this or that, or him being favored, shame, absolute shame on you. Do better. Thank you.